Stay hungry, stay foolish.
As always, thank you to our sponsor, Zai, building integrated financial services, innovating within their area of expertise for digital native and non-native businesses. You can check them out at hellozai.com. Have you ever felt you're on a roll? Everything seems to be going your way. Time slows and you see clearly. Past the noise and distractions, you're able to zoom in on the essential. You take the perfect action at the perfect time. You instinctively know what to do, and you have a profound feeling that you're on the right path. The experience is the manifestation of what our guest calls alignment. Alignment is the congruence of who you are, what you feel, and what you love on a deep and fundamental level with what you do, what you say, what you envisage, and where you are going. Alignment is not about falling in step or conforming to others' expectations, but rather it's about becoming more of yourself, and in doing so, transcending what you thought were the limits of your capabilities. You too, if properly aligned, can reach higher than you ever thought possible, effortlessly and joyfully inspiring others to embrace and follow your vision. You too can generate that sense of clarity and ease, even in the face of challenges and setbacks. You too can create the congruence of who you are, what you think, and what you do. It's a great pleasure to welcome the author of Aligned, Connecting Your True Self with the Leader You're Meant to Be, Hortense Le Gentil. Bienvenue.
Thank you, Aidan. Thank you for having me. I am delighted to be here.
It's so great to have you with us. And behind me, you'll see I have 2 copies of your wonderful book. One is up for grabs for our audience. Just sign up to the innovationshow.io newsletter and you will be in with a chance to win that book. Before we even get into the book, I wanted to give a bit of context, Hortense. You and I have been talking for a while, preparing for today's show. And I was telling you, I wear a pin to try and reflect each show. And I bought a pin when I saw the book and I was like, oh yeah, I think I know what that's about. Making a terrible assumption, leadership mistake, where I made an assumption. And I bought a pin that was like a mask being removed. And I was like, it must be about self-alignment. And then when I read the book, I was like going, no, I need a totally different pin. And the one I'm wearing is a sea turtle. And there's a story behind that is a wonderful story that talks to exactly that introduction, which is the story of the sea turtle. When it wants to move towards warmer waters, it gets in line with the Pacific Straits and the Gulf Stream. And once it's in that alignment, it shoots all the way down to the other side of the planet. And I thought that was a much more apt version of alignment.
That's great. I just love it. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And the context I'd love to talk about is there's a story and something we share deeply in common, which is you do this beautifully in the book, your history and your past and your discipline as an equestrian rider. So you've had this amazing experience and it's left a mental model that's very useful for the rest of your life. Maybe you'll tell us a bit about that and then we'll get into the book.
Oh, yeah. So I spent more than 10 years competing as a competitor. And yes, I think it shaped me, everything, and first the horses, because, I was surrounded by horses and the empathy story come from here, I think, is coming from here. And I can remember my dad was telling me when I was 5 that he was holding my hand and I let go and I went in the middle of the field with all the horses. He was terrified. And in fact, I was just in the middle of the horses and talking with the horses and connecting with the horses and everything was fine. They didn't hurt me. And he said that I was aligned with the horse. So the competitive, the horses and everything, all that moment shaped me.
We were talking before we came on air, and we were talking about executive coaching, and you said you absolutely feel aligned, that everything in your life has led you towards this as well. So you really, truly feel this in your soul. And I wanted to build on that because I'm dying to get into the book, but curiosity has got the better of me in this instance, because in the introduction, you mentioned that you were part of an amazing initiative and that was where you're part of what the author of your foreword, Marshall Goldsmith, created, himself a prolific author, this idea of coaches going forward and making the planet a better place. I'd love you to share a little bit about this, because this sounds so intriguing.
Yeah, so Marshall, as you know, is a pape of leadership. And when he turned 70, he decided to give back. He realized that he had great mentor, Peter Drucker, Francis Aidan, and so that he would like to help people. So it's an amazing group of thinker, executive, coaches, and all together, we want to pay it forward too, and also help leaders all over the world to become even better leaders, and for myself, more aligned.
It's such a beautiful way to actually help people, because we were saying before we came on air, you help the leader creates an environment. People spend so much time in work anyway. If you can make their life a better place, you can do that through this work. So it's a noble role. Being a leader is a noble role. Being a manager is a noble role. Being an executive coach is an honor. So anyway, let's jump into the book, because we could talk all day about this and we won't even go near the book. And in part 1, you talk about meeting yourself. So this is about self-alignment. And this is an essential starting point, because you say, unless we are fully aware of who we truly are, we cannot find alignment. Why? Because we do not know what to align with. So let's get a first glimpse of typical symptoms of misalignment before we explore the journey of self-alignment. Perhaps you'll take us through this.
Absolutely. So some symptoms are, for example, when you are blaming others, you're always blaming others. It's his fault, her fault, the weather, the city, the government, whatever it is. So it's a big clue that you should maybe think about it. So because maybe there's something wrong in yourself or in your environment. When you are always angry also, you wake up, you don't want to wake up. You're like, you don't know why you wake up. So you feel drained. So all that kind of things. For example, I had one of my clients, he was always complaining, always. And say, that happened, this one did that. At one point I said, oh my gosh, I think I have the feeling that you're always at war. Something is wrong. And he told me, no. And I said, yes. And so we began to work on it, because this is big things, and you have to think about it.
Let's build on that, Hortense, because I'd love to bring it back to that equestrian background that you have, because through that background, you say there are 2 types of equestrians. Those who seek to impose their will onto the horse, muscling their way forward and pulling on the reins, and those who seek to work in harmony and alignment with their horse, cultivating mutual trust, ease, and communication. Both can be successful. The first, however, is much more likely to hit a ceiling. Perhaps you'll tell us why.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that because it's really the power against the force. And Dr. Hawkins, in his book, Force Against Power, explained very well that. So what is power? Power is everything, because power, it's a win-win situation. It moves everything, because power, so if you will go back to the rider, is a rider who can connect with the horse, listen to the horse, and with the rein, so you know that you communicate with the rein because you are on the horse, you are too, and the legs and everything. So you have to feel and to adapt your communication to the horse, the mood of the horse, in order to be able to do what you want to do, what you want the horse to do. You also can do and use force, and we know some German, very well-known, rider who did that. But imagine you are with your rein and you you hold the rein. And so what happened? The mouth of your horse is hurt, and everything can, and the body can be hurt. And there it's really, force is really a win-lose situation. So what's going to happen? It hurts. And at one point, the horse is going to say, stop. So this is different. And it's exactly the same, with leadership. If you use the force and say, do that, and, whatever it is, and you don't hear, others, and you pass orders, and you don't know what's going on, they're going to do it because they're obliged to do it. You are paid to do it. But at one, they are not going to go further. On the other hand, if you are this leader who can be, empower people and has this power, you want to follow them because they can connect with you. It's all about empathy also, but they can connect with you. They explain why you should follow them, why you should do that. And I think this is exactly, what a real leader has to do, because we know that, the leader role changed. So especially, during the COVID, so the movement was there, but now it's everywhere. So it's not you should do, it's you have to. And we know that, right? So how the leadership is moving from this hero leader, so know everything, and you use your force to the human leader who is who is using this power.
I found that was really interesting because we saw it during the pandemic. We saw how many people just they had a moment to actually think for a change. And the pandemic gave them that time to just go to themselves and go, hey, wait a second. My boss has been pulling on my reins for years and I haven't had enough. And that's what, the Great Resignation, your book came out during that period of time. It's been so helpful for so many people to kind of go, wait a second. And also your role as an executive coach, I thought it was really interesting. From the sporting background, one of the great gifts you have is discipline. The other one is you're willing to take feedback, because feedback makes you a better player or an equestrian rider, whatever it might be. And I often think about how either coaching or feedback is without it, it's kind of like trying to put on your makeup without a mirror. So you're gonna get it wrong. But the coaching, you say, is like a mirror, and we all need that coaching, whether that's a team around us who are psychologically safe enough to give us feedback, whether it's a partner who's ready to give you feedback, or in your organization yourself. This part of the coach as a mirror is such an important aspect of the book.
Absolutely. So we were talking about sports, just like you in rugby. We know that, is Federer having a coach? Yes. Is, the take everyone. So take everyone, every sportman. They all have, bunch of coaches. So there are their physical therapists, the psychologist, the coach, a chef very often, and you name it. So why a leader doesn't have a coach? So I think we need it. We don't like sometimes, to have feedback, back to the time I was competing. Of course, when I failed, I was not very, very, very happy. So I needed a little time, to digest everything and to hear really what my coach has to tell me about it, because, it was my fault. It was not the fault, the fault of my horse. So obviously, so this is so important, the coaching, the feedback, and get the feedback. But it's very hard because, again, a leader, thinks that maybe he should know everything, but he doesn't, as we saw during the pandemic, by the way. So, and it's really this, this work and this, and the person that have a step back can effectively give you a real feedback. How did you look? What it looks like, and help you to grow and to be better. If not, you go to continue your pattern, and anyway, in life we evolve. So either you go up or you go down. So you choose, but you never stay like that, never. So this is the importance of having a coach.
I found it really interesting. I'm sure you see this as well, when the chemistry session between you and your client is really important as a coach to actually make sure it's the right fit, because it's not always the right fit. But what's also interesting is if the organization tells somebody they need a coach and they've given them a coach, that doesn't always work, because sometimes it's not the person's choice. And often there's a pushback. I'd love you to share this, because sometimes people go, why do I need a coach? Did I do something wrong? And you're kind of going, no. The fact that the organization is investing in a coach in you is a sign of trust, and they want you to go further. And there's often that conflict that happens.
Absolutely. It's very, very often that I had that. And first, talking about people who you find a coach first. And this is so important what you tell me. Because as a coach, you cannot coach someone who doesn't want to be coached. Who doesn't want to work on himself or herself and be better and evolve. Even if he's already better, but we always can evolve. So the first thing is, to test, if this person is or not ready to move forward. And if so, this is the first step. And the second step is, yes, did I do something wrong? And this is stupid, because as we said, it's exactly what you say. It costs, so it's a value. So if the company wants to put it, to put money on you, it's because you have a big value and they're waiting for something. And this is so important. I had one one client like that, and she was here and telling me, yes, I'm very motivated. I want to be coaches and everything. In fact, her CEO asked for coaching. She was absolutely not ready, but she didn't want to tell me, but I could feel it. So it was very interesting, because I told her, and she was, moving always, the meeting, the appointment. No, I cannot. I know she was late. And so at one point, very, very fast, I told her, okay, you are not ready, and it's okay. That's not a problem. So I would like you just to be honest with yourself, honest with me, and honest vis-a-vis your company. So take a week, think about it, and come back with an answer. And already I was very serious. And she said, no. I said, yes, please. So now I'll leave and come back if you want, but in another mindset. And she sent me a message 2 or 3 days later. And she told me, I am ready. And I told her, please explain why, what are you waiting for? And she explained. And believe it or not, everything changed from that moment. Everything. And we did an amazing work. She did. Oh my gosh, I'm so proud of her. And because she had a behavior problem, but she couldn't face it. So all the work was, about that. And it was just, to illustrate the fact that if you're not ready, you as a coach, you talk, they hear, but they don't anchor. And it's this chemistry between you as a coach with the person in front of you. You have to trust this person. You have to know that this person is going to help you. You have to know that the coach is not going to judge you. And we're not here to judge. We're just here to help and to try to see your blind spots and how we can help there, how we can unlock yourself, how we can realign, the person as a leader, as a person, because we are a whole, right? We are only one. So as a person, as a leader, and as a leader in the company with others. So
I love it. I love it. And I think that aspect of it's like let's bring it back to sport or even a child. If you try to force a child to do something they don't want to do, they won't do it. You need to wait for them to be ready to maybe do their homework or play a sport or whatever it might be. You can't force them because that's what you want them to do. And I find it's very much the same with the coaching. And as you say, just wait till they're ready, because eventually it will dawn on them. They'll go, oh, okay, I do need this, etc. But I wanted to bring it to, for those people listening to us who go, okay, how can I use this book to actually align myself? And I was telling you before we came on air, the origin of the word coach is stagecoach, which the whole idea is the stagecoach brings a passenger or goods from point A to point B. And that kind of raises the question that as a coach, then you can help somebody get to point B, but it's not you as the coach who chooses what point B is. Point B is their goal, or more aptly, actually, to bring it to the book, it's their why. To bring it back to what you said, I don't want to get up in the morning, I'm tired, I'm exhausted. That's because your why needs to be bigger than your try. And I'd love you to expand on this, because the why is the starting point for everything.
The why is, gives it, it's a meaning. You know, it's a meaning of your life, of your work, and why. So you don't do things for the how or the what, but for the why, and we forget. So thinking about what is your why needs a time of reflection, and especially during the pandemic, we really had to take that time to reflect and think about it. Okay, what are my values? Why I'm here? What kind of leader I want to be? How I want to be remembered? I do very often, I give this exercise. It's a very hard exercise to try to write your eulogy. Try to think about each person, each part of your life, so personal and professional life, what you want them to tell when you will not be there anymore. So it's a hard exercise, but you will understand that you don't want them to remember you as the one who, increase that, the Wall Street numbers by 100 or whatever it is, but they're going to remind you because you connected with someone, because you helped someone, because you were a good dad or a good mom or a good friend, or always there for others or never there for others, or whatever it is. But it's a very good exercise. And your why also, if we don't know where to begin, you go back to at the beginning, when we were young, and the dream. What was your dream? What did you dream to do or to be? What was your role model? And why? Why? And even if you wanted to be a doctor and today you are a leader, it's not a question of going back to school and being a doctor, but it's why. Why did you want to be a doctor? Take care of people, I guess. Okay. Do you today as a leader take care of your people? Question mark. Yes or no? And if yes, could you do better? If no, could you do it? And how to do it? And you built your why. And this is how, so you reconnect, in fact, with really yourself. Because if you don't remember why, again, power and force, you are going to do things with force. So you can make it for sure, but with force. So, and you have all your environment is going to feel it. So you are responsible of yourself and you are responsible of others. So, and you don't want, to take all those people. You will, at one point anyway, you cannot. So you will stop it. So this is really this why your value, how you want to be remembered, this time of reflection that you really have to take. And again, especially during this time of uncertainty, because it's your true north. It's your home. Your why is your home. Your why is your, when you travel, you always go back home, right? So where is home? Home is here, not far away. And we always forget that. We always forget to go back to ourselves and say, okay, what can I feel? What do I feel? Do I feel okay? Aligned? No. I'm pissed. I'm angry. Oh, what's happened? What is wrong there? And try to make it, align again. And this is so important. That time of reflection.
I think that's important. You said the way you said, try to align again, because you will go off track all the time consistently. There's a great quote by the Greek philosopher Heraclitus. It's 544 BC. He said, and bear in mind the language at the time was very masculine. He said, no man ever walks in the same river twice because it's not the same river and he's not the same man. So the river represents the environment, and you're constantly changing as the environment is constantly changing. And you recognize this in the book as well, because you share an exercise that French novelist Marcel Proust answered at age 13 and then again at age 20. And it has a huge relevance to alignment. I love this exercise. Perhaps you'll share this one with us.
Absolutely. So I just love it also, because when you ask a question like that, who you want to be, what is important for you, you always try to refer to, the rational mind, to the left brain. And in fact, no, there is no right answer. The right answer is your answer. So we have to shut up this one and open, the right one. And how you do that? By using metaphor, by using picture, whatever. And for example, I ask what vehicle you want to be. And one of my clients said, I want to be a car. I said, okay, what kind of car? And he told me, he pictured me a Bugatti. I said, okay. And he said, yes, but a tuned Bugatti. Okay, so why? Because I want it very special, because it's elegant, because I can take people in it, because I can take my time and drive and things like that. Just telling that, you know a lot about this person. You know that this person nice things, but the comfort, but he wants to include people. He wants to be there for others and make the environment nice and take his time. So just by asking this question, and if I ask, what kind of piece of water you want to be, and one of them answer me, I want to be La Seine, the river in Paris. I said, okay, why? And the why was because it's beautiful. I said, yeah, but it's dirty. Are you going to swim in the sand? And he said, oh, no, I never swim anyway. So I'm just looking at it. And you understand there that this person is going more about, looking at the force. It's not very, very clear, but I will be there, but I will not go in it. So you understand that kind of thing. So, and you can continue like that with all the question, all my question, the color, what color, or, the tree, everything, house, everything.
And I thought it was great the way you go, okay, so ask that at different times in your life though, because it changes, because the context change. Everything's situational. It depends on the moment in time, the environment, the decisions, everything. There's all sliding door moments going on at any one time, and we need to be aware of that. So let's move on to part 2, because part 1 of the book is about developing a clearer view of who we truly are, our values, our strengths, etc. And part 2 moves on to removing self-limitations, distractions, and other noise that drain our energy, our perspective, and our clarity. So you start this chapter, and you start this part of the book by talking about rewiring our brains and how that's possible. Perhaps you'll build on this.
Absolutely. So our brain was made, for example, to begin with, an adult brain, I think, has something like 100 billions of neurons, and each neuron is connecting around 1,000 to 10,000, I think, contacts, in our brain, and not everything, but a lot of connection were made during when we were young and before, so, when you were not, still with your mom, the scientists say that, our brain was feeling and making connection. So those connection, and you did this connection in function of your environment. So, for example, very simple example, you like water. Why do you like water? Because maybe you saw your mother, drinking water, and she felt good. Or you don't like water because you saw at one point someone who was sick with a glass of water because the water was not good. Very simple examples, but our brain is like that, made a lot of connection, and we grew up like that because we needed that, our education and things like that. But at one point, it doesn't serve us anymore, and we are not aware of it because we are so used to be like that. And as you said before, we are in a journey, and the alignment is a journey also. So this is what I call self-limitation. This is when you think you cannot go further because you are not used, and you tell yourself, okay, I cannot. No, I cannot do that. I cannot be that kind of leader. For example, when we're talking about women leader, my clients very often say, emotion doesn't belong to the arena, the corporate arena. Why do you want me to be vulnerable? I say, because, people need that. And because this is how you're going to get the power. You're ready yourself, the best, you're going to be the best version of yourself, because your leadership is evolved. It's another subject. But just to come back to this part of rewiring your brain, it's that it's okay. So it doesn't serve me anymore. For example, to think about, I cannot be an emotional leader. Okay, this connection is there because you were raised like that. The education, everyone told you that doesn't belong to the corporate arena. Okay, but now you think that you want to change, and that could help you. Yes, but you have to think why, because you think that it's the right way to go now. Okay, and what could happen? That could happen that I could help others and empower people if I can connect with others. Okay, so we go over fears, and I'm not giving you all the tricks, but anyway, at one point we decide, okay, we change direction. So it's really like, it was connected, and we're going to take another direction. And so like a new muscle, you have to work on it, right? Because it's not because we decide just now together that you're going to change that connection, that when you're going to leave me, you will forget. So as you want, to exercise, for example, your arm because you had an accident, every day you reflect on it and you check with yourself, because I always say that I recommend to have your own self-reflection every day, and your one-on-one with yourself. So important. And you think about it and you write it and say, did I do my best to be this human leader, for example. And like that, your brain remember, and oops, poof, and you put back this neuron, this connection. It's everything is about neuroplasticity. For years, we thought that scientists thought that our brain was fixed at one point, and the brain is so beautiful. So it's a machine that we don't know. So and no, it's all about neuroplasticity. So you can do it. And I can tell you that in my clients, I had clients young, 35, I think was maybe my youngest one, because he was an entrepreneur. To, I think the oldest one was maybe 65, 67, maybe more. Never tell me exactly, doesn't matter. But just to tell that you can make it. And this is all about rewiring your brain.
And I found the example you gave in the book was beautiful, where you talked about your horse. So your horse was fearful of water, for example. And what I thought there was actually, oftentimes when a coach talks, they talk about actually the inner child. But you were actually talking about the inner foal here. So the baby horse, and how the baby horse came across and became fearful of water at some stage. So you had to actually revisit the source of the fear. So I'd love you to share that. But also, I just want our audience, because many of our audience work in innovation or change within large organizations. And we forget that everybody within the organization has a different temperature for fear. So they have fears that are different, but often most resistance is actually driven by these fears. So it's very difficult, and it's why 75% plus of digital transformation or any transformation efforts fail, because we fail to connect with the individuals behind the organization, because they all have individual fears and they can resist very, very fast. And that fear, it's often driven by fear.
100% right. Yeah, absolutely. So it's all about fear. So I didn't talk about that, right? But yes, it's coming from fears. And for example, this person was always angry. At one point, I asked her, I have the feeling that you are always at war. Is it right or wrong? And she said, right. And I said, why? Are we at war? And she said, no. Okay. Do you remember anything about it? And, someone, when we talk about that, does it ring any bells? And she told me, of course, my parents were immigrant from a country where was at war. So during all the, lunch and table at home, my parents, my grandparents, everyone was afraid. I was telling, be careful outside, be careful there. People are not, people are going to come and everything. And he said, oh, okay, so we know where it's coming from now. And we work on, on this fear, because in fact, it's a fear. That's why, the behavior behind this behavior, you have the fears. And these fears at that point was that someone wanted to do something bad. And so we came back to the origin. And we did this work to think about, does it help you today? And is it your story or the story of your parents? And we agree on that it was the story of her parents. And if she could let go, she would be free. And if she could be free, she could be happy, because she was not happy. When you think that, everyone, wants to hurt you, you cannot be happy. So, yeah, so there is always a story behind the story and behind the fears. Yeah. And now when we talk about, this human leader also, same. Because sometimes, not sometimes, that's normal. We are human. We have fears. This is okay. This is normal. And, if we want to move from one point to another, so to this hero leader, to the human leader, okay, but how we do that? Because you have these fears. You were successful before doing that. How can we change? And, if I change, if I show my vulnerability, as we saw before, we talked before, or, if I ask others their stories, what's going to happen? How can I enter that? And maybe I will not be successful anymore because I don't know how to do that. And so you have to work first, because this is the first door. This door, you have to work on that. What are you afraid of? And face your fears and work on it and try to make peace with that. And this is fine. And this is normal. This is okay. You are human. And like that, you can open the door and enter to the new room of being a human leader, for example, whatever you want to do to achieve. This is always the same process. The fears, why the fears, where are they coming from? Looking at where does it belong to you? You let go, the freedom, blah, 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 and you replace for something else.
And I loved what you said there about the fact that sometimes your fears aren't even your fears. You don't know where they come from. There's a brilliant study, Hortense, I don't know if you've heard it, where they took mice. And the reason they test with mice is because their life cycles are so fast. And they took one batch of mice and they put little brain scanners on them, little fMRI scanners to scan their brains to see fear factors. So see the amygdala part, the fear factor of the brain light up. And then they released the smell of cherry blossom into the cages and they gave them a little shock. And they were trying to create an association between the smell of cherry blossom and fear. Then that batch of mice had a new litter, so they had babies. And they put the scanners on and they just released the smell of cherry blossom in, and they measured and they saw all their brains lit up with fear. And then they did it with the grandchildren. Again, these children had never, ever had a shock, but their amygdalas lit up because of the smell of fear. And in a further human study, they showed that when somebody came from a part of the world in the past that had suffered some type of plague or pestilence, they were more xenophobic. So they were less about us. They were more about us and less about them. So they had a very big fear of outsiders because that meant disease in the past. And this was all genetically coded into the brains of people. And I mentioned about the mice because I loved your story about your horse. Because your horse had this fear and you had to bring your horse back to the inner child in order to cure that fear.
Absolutely. I love the story, the mouse, but this is so true. Yes, so it doesn't matter, if you don't, by the way, if you don't find why, where it's coming from, doesn't matter. The things, very important things is ready to let go and to realize that does it serve you or not. And for the horse, yes, she doesn't want to jump river. She was afraid of water. She was, my God, she was, stopping. I never knew where it's coming from. So, but we took our time, and I was with her and walking with her. We were, playing with the water, and I took water in my hands and I gave to her, and we were playing around the water and everything. And at the end, the fears disappear. We could be even able to go to the ocean and have a bath with a horse. So, but yeah, it took time. But it's all a question of trust also, right? It's, she trusts me. I was, aware and be careful of how, how she felt, and just try to reassure her and do things like that. And this is what we were talking about before, this power thing. This is empathy.
So important, the empathy aspect of any kind of change, that it's going to take time. You don't know what's going on the head of the other. The reason I was laughing, by the way, there was I was picturing myself as an executive coach with somebody who's a fear of water, cupping water in my hand going, drink, drink. and people are like, what is that guy doing? So from one F word, which is fear, to another F word, which is really important, which is the fear of failure. You talk a lot about this in the book as well, because this is actually such a blocker for so many people. They're fearful to take a next step to evolve because what if I fail? And again, it's one of the great gifts that sports gives us, is that you're going to fail all the time. So you got to try. You got to try.
You know that as a driver, as a rider, we once said that you have to fall 100 times before being a good rider. My grandfather, my father, my coaches, each time I was falling, was saying, okay, good, one more. So now go back to your horse. Okay. So the thing is, you have to go back, instantly to your horse to not create fear. By the way, talking about fears, it's a reason why. So you fail, hop, and you go. You fail, you learn, you go. And this is exactly, and Thomas Edison say that also. He said, I didn't fail. I tried 1,000, I think, different ways. That's all. And that's true, because failure, we learn from failure. And failure is because we try something. So we have to try to innovate, to evolve, we have to try. So when we try, sometimes we fail. Okay, this is perfect. Okay, you fail. Why? Yeah, and you take this time, just to analyze and to say, okay, so I'm going to do that differently now, and this is how you evolve. So this fear of fail. Can you imagine when you are absolutely locked in that? You don't do anything new. You don't. So you are keeping the same every day and doing the same every day because you're afraid of fear.
I was thinking about that actually, is because there's another side then for the leader. So the leader may have fear of failure herself, but also then it's how she reacts to her team when they make mistakes. Like if you think about a parent, the child makes a mistake, it's your reaction to that mistake that's important. So if they make the same mistake over and over and over, that's slightly different, but not all mistakes are equal. So when they're learning something new, which is very common in today's world of change, they make a mistake, and your reaction as a leader or a parent has a dramatic effect on whether the person's going to try again. And I see this sometimes with my coachees, that sometimes they're fearful of trying things because they're like going, well, last time my boss threw her toys out of the pram and she went crazy. She went mad with me. And I'm going to go, well, maybe she needs a coach as well, because
absolutely,
it's that reaction, isn't it? That's so important.
Because as a leader, it's your responsibility to make a safe environment where people can allowed to fail. And that's true, as you say, that first you have, as a leader, to work on that and to work on the fact that it's okay to fail for yourself, and it's okay, to make others fail. And not make, but I mean, and to have people who can fail, and because it's okay and it's good. So it's all about this safety environment to do that. And before we were talking about this ability, how you put all the stories all together, and this is really a cascade, in fact, because really you begin by you talking about fears, fail. What do you allow you to do? And that's why it's so important to be aligned and take this first part of my book, to take this time, to be sure of what you want, and after go in spiral. You said that. You go.
It sounds great. Spirals.
Yeah, thank you.
You said it nicer, though. It's nicer.
It helps. Thank you for my hands. And you have to be clear on failure. This is so important.
So next, you tell us we need to ultimately value our intuition, and you pose the following questions that are really useful to ask ourselves. You say, how do you know that you're making the right decision? What is that little voice inside your head telling you what to do or not to do? And how important is that voice in your journey towards better alignment? These are really important questions, because oftentimes we don't have all the facts and figures available in order to take the leap and make the decision. And intuition plays a huge part for us.
And especially during the pandemic, and now. So we're living in a new world. Everything changes fast, and it's complicated. We don't have the methods, so we don't know how to do that. We don't have the playbook. So how you do that? We go back to this brain, our genius, our gift, and left and right. Left is based on what we know and everything rational, the education, what we did. The right one is the one who is going to make you innovate and know what you don't know, is faster than the other one, and also to connect is the one who is going to help you to connect with people. And this is this one that we have to learn to work with. So intuition is really that. And Einstein said that the left one, so the left brain, the rational brain, is a very faithful servant, and the right brain, it's a sacred gift. And we forgot the gift. So really, we need both. I don't say that we don't need one, and no, but we need to increase. The use. We need to learn how to use, in fact, our right brain, and intuition is coming from there. Intuition is that. It's exactly that moment when you enter in a room or you meet someone and you have this little voice to say, something is wrong. I don't feel well. Just listen to it. It's your intuition. It's when you're looking for an answer, you know all the data, everything. You did your homework. This is not about that. So, and to come back to the leader today has to be this human leader with a vision. We need a captain, and the captain needs a vision. And how you make this vision? Let your imagination, let your intuition, what your intuition is telling you. Now that you have the data, the intuition is going to give you the last word.
I loved the story you told us about Bill, and I'm going to share this because oftentimes, and I met actually an executive for breakfast this morning, and he was asking me just what I thought of the work I'd done with his organization. And I said, the biggest challenge is time, because your guys are so busy that you don't have time to actually think. And when you're so busy and you don't have time to think, you cannot be innovative. You don't have any mental capacity to do so. And you talk about this, the importance of claiming mind space. And in the book, you explore the importance of intuition, but then you go into reclaiming some mind space, which is an absolutely essential part of life to actually survive the rate of change that we're going through. And I'll start you off here with a quote about Bill. You said, Bill never stopped. The CEO of a financial services company, he went from meeting to meeting, from plane to plane. His schedule was always full. His head was full. Mind racing, he came up with idea after idea, never stopping to consider which might be worth pursuing and dropping initiatives as quickly as he started them. Always rushing, he acted before he considered what was the most important or when action was needed at all. Convinced that he knew what his collaborators meant to say before they even finished their sentences, he kept interrupting everyone to speed things up. Yeah, get on with it, get on with it. Amid all that inner noise and agitation, he had lost touch with himself and with his intuition. And this is so important. We very rarely, in the bid to execute all the time, very rarely take a step back and kind of go, wait a second, am I doing the right things in my organization and in my life? And have I got my priorities straight? This claiming mind space that you talk about is so essential.
This is everything. So we were talking before about it, but this time of reflection, this time, you have to find the right reason. And rushing is not the right one. We know that we have things to do. We know that, of course, we're working with people who are always in a hurry because they have to do a lot of things. But if you don't take that time, if you don't take this ritual of checking how aligned you are, often in a day, chances are that you are going to go the wrong way at one point, or you are going to go so fast that you're going to miss something, miss someone, or something like that. And so this time of reflection that is so important. So in the morning, when you leave, before leaving home, when you wake up, to go back to your self-reflection, what you decided, your alignment, what are your priorities, are you good at that? And at the end of the day, go back to that, that list of priorities, values, and see and revisit your day and say, did I do my best today to align that with my values? Oh no, okay. So this is okay. Don't blame yourself. You're human. And you go, for the other day with your brain thinking about it. And you're going to be better and better at what you decide before. That's why, we're talking about before, but that's why it's so important to know with what you want to align yourself, right? Your priorities, who you are. And also, this is the only way to be aware of a mistake that you could do. Listen to your intuition. Or you need to connect with others as a leader. So if you're talking or not listening with someone, with your team or whatever, and you continue, so you don't stop and make a time for them to express themselves, or you to understand and to see, oh, this person looks very tired this morning, what's happened? And take the time to connect, because you're going to miss something. And you cannot, and the case of Bill, it was exactly that. It was exactly, he was doing a lot. And at one point he was exhausted. And he told me, Hortense, I don't understand why. I explained, I said, we should do that. And it's never done. Guess why? Because people didn't want to connect. He didn't connect with people, with his team. He was just passing order. He was there, open the door, don't close the door, and he go back. Yeah. So, as a normal person, how do you react to that? You just say, "Okay, bye bye." You open the door, and you say, "Okay, easy, bye bye." Okay, you close the door. So you can connect with others. So, but he was not aware of that. He was very courageous. He was walking like crazy, but. And he had vision, but he never stopped to connect. So when he was aware of that, we work on that. Connect with others. And especially now, with this time of being this human leader is so important. So we need you as a human. So if you run everywhere, you are not going to have time to see, the little boy, sitting here and looking at you.
Again, bringing that back, Bill was almost like the horse, pulling on the reins, forcing people, using authority rather than actually inspiring them, as you said earlier on. And, my own practice, I love this. I'll share it with you because it's a French term. I call them a mental amuse-bouche. So an amuse-bouche mental, where you actually just clear your palate. So rather than going from meeting to meeting, you'll do your meeting. I'll do stuff like listen to some music, or I'll do a puzzle, a mental puzzle, read something in a book, just a few paragraphs, not much, but just to go, just breathe and take a moment and give my brain a break, because that's actually a skill. Like we learned that in sport. You don't just keep training the same muscle every day. The muscle will eventually tear. You got to give it a break, and it's during the break that it actually grows and it gets stronger, etc. But I wanted to bring it to a really important aspect that you talk about, which is, okay, self-alignment, and then we need to align ourselves with our environment. Because I once worked in a legacy organization, Hortense, and I remember when I walked in, I could feel a void. There was like this emptiness, and it was full of people. And I was like kind of going, what's wrong? And I was like, I was wondering, is the ceiling too high? What was wrong? I was like, going, maybe if to bring the ceiling down and make it a bit tighter, the energy you could feel it. And I went on to realize, I didn't last very long there, but I realized actually it was the lack of psychological safety. There was fear in the air. People were tense. They didn't really like their jobs, and everybody lived in this state the whole time. And I didn't do the work that I'm now aware of from your book and from many others that I've read since, to look out for certain signs before I even joined that organization, to ask the right questions. And this is such an important part of your work, is aligning yourself with your environment and the people who work in that environment.
I just love your example, and asking the right question and asking yourself also why. If your driver, the last example that I had is, if your driver is, oh, I'm going to take this job because this job is going to give me more money, I will win more money, I will be more powerful, or things like that, or the company is biggest, whatever it is. It's not the right driver. Your why is your driver, don't remember. So chances are that you're going to make a mistake at one point, because you're going to be enforced. It's not the right driver. You don't, money, win more money we need money. I don't say that money is not important, but this is not the right driver. The right driver is that you have to go back to your values and how you want to remember, and to see if, the next step or where you're going is serving your values, your vision, and the leader you are to be. It's very different. It's absolutely very different. And your intuition is going to tell you or feel, oh, it's not good. And this moment of reflection that we're talking before, it's very simple, like you say. It's being at the moment present. It's being here, not behind, not before, but here. But it's very difficult because our mind, our mental, just love talking. Blah, blah, blah. You didn't do that. Oh, you did that right. Oh, no, you didn't do that. No, this is not good. Oh, no, next time, yeah. Stop it. Just stop it. It's, meditation is about being at the present moment. It's a name, but it's all about being at the present moment. And how you do that? Yeah, as you said, listen to music, listen to the word, to the music. Don't let your mental go, by the way, because if you listen to music and your mental go, no. The tricks is ready to be at the present moment. Be aware of your breathe, how you breathe. Be aware of your body, or things like that. Be here, be grounded. Be at the present moment. And it's going to help you to stay aligned, so to keep your true north where you decide to go, right? And so it's very important.
I'd love to move on to part 3, because in part 3 you discuss how we can leverage the personal alignment that we've already aligned with. So we've discovered and explored our personal alignment to move on to be a leader and foster a collective alignment, and thereby boosting our effectiveness as a leader in an organization, for example. And you tell us here, aligned leadership comes not only from the congruence of who you are with what you feel and what you think, but also with what you say and what you do in your relationship with others. And you advise us here that a good journey, a positive journey, starts with communication. And this communication, I see this all the time with leaders. They think they've communicated because maybe they've said it once or twice, but they need to say the message over and over and over and over. And you say good communication involves sharing a clear and inspiring sense of purpose and direction, formulating a strategy on how to get there, and clarifying everyone's role and contribution. It is through these 3 elements that you're likely to get the best out of your team and be an even more effective and inspiring leader. So this goes from figure out your own why to go, let's start articulating the collective why.
It's gone from your driver, your why, your values, who you are. So so the story that you're going to have, your own story and your driver, to how you move that to the leader. So how you communicate this vision and how you empower and include everyone. So this is what I call the alignment of alignments with us, because it's all the story. It's your story and all the stories. So how you connect all the stories, your driver. So how as a leader you can make exactly the same. So this same journey of alignment to your team. They have to do the same, and you have to take this time to make this time to connect. And for that you have to know people, take time to know really them, who they are, what they like, what drives them. And as a leader, when you explain your vision, explain your why. It's not just explaining, because people cannot guess if you don't explain. So don't suppose that people are going to understand. No. When you want something, you explain something, you explain your why, where it's coming from. Why is it important for you? And where and how and where are we going to go all together? And how you as a person, you are included in this story. So if you want to include that person, for example, this example of this man, this manager, who each time he was recruiting someone, he was asking him, what is your story and what is your dream and how can we help you to achieve your dream? And like that, he knows that this person, his dream is to have a bigger house, I don't know, because he has a lot of kids, and how you can make a plan to make him win more money and involve in the company. And so each time he's going to come to work, it's the person going to come to work for making a step to her dream, and not for only for the company. It's not the same. It's really that part, make a family, make why you are here. We saw that a lot, by the way, during COVID, when we saw the frontliner so devoted to people, so here for people, listen, be here, when they serve others, and this connection with people was unbelievable. So this is so important. This is not easy to do, but this is important to take the time to do it. And this is a journey we are on today, I think. And this is why the leadership change. And when you begin, when you are a leader, you have to understand, like it's like you, I'm sure in the rugby, you move from player to coach. You are sitting in the bench or on the bench. So you're here, you're sitting. So don't try to take the ball. You are here not to play, not to be on the field, but to look at others and to see if all your guys are okay, playing okay, and are physically okay. This is your job. And how we can help them. If one of them, is coming one morning and, with a bad figure, face, and something happened, you're going to ask him, what's happened? What's wrong? Okay. So what can I do for you? Okay. Maybe you cannot do anything because it's not about fixing. It's another subject. But yeah, it's because they're afraid. The leader are afraid sometimes to ask this question. If something bad happened, what should I do? Nothing. Just listen and make the space that people can express themselves. And so yeah. So and this is how you're going to make this alignment of alignments. So this connection of stories to make a big movie.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And I love that you brought up that whole idea of, so you were a player, you were a great player, now you're a coach. You can't play anymore and you can't scream at the players anymore. You got to prepare them. And then you become, like you say in the book, a facilitator or an orchestrator. You're like the chef d'orchestre on the sideline. You can't make people do things, but you can guide them. And I think that's a beautiful way, like you do finish the book with this. You go, it's the art of letting go. You can't grab those reins as an equestrian rider too tightly. And you share the following quote that I'll quote. A good equestrian knows that she has aligned with her horse and prepared for the jump. She must let go. She has surveyed the obstacle course, communicated and listened effectively, established trust and found the right cadence to position herself at the optimum position to jump. Now what? Here, the rider's only job is to let the horse take off. The equestrian trusts herself and her horse, and she is confident that both are ready to play their parts. She knows her role is to focus on adjusting her balance and body position in order to facilitate rather than hinder her mount's performance. Her role is also to look ahead and anticipate the next obstacle. I loved that because that absolutely encapsulates what a leader of today's world, of this constant change, needs to be: a facilitator.
This is really the definition of alignment for me. It's all the jobs, that you're doing, before and after, this ability to let go and let everyone jump and doing the right, the perfect jump, and you feel there and you're here and you fly and everything is possible and this is great and this is wow. This is you're in a zone and this is this alignment and as a leader, so important to make each one have her own alignment and be aligned with that.
I have a final quote that I wanted to share. It's a quote not by you. It's not from your book. It's a quote that I hope you haven't heard, because I was trying to find a gift to pass back to you that I'm going to finish with. And I wanted to first ask you, where can people find out more about you, your book, your work, etc.? Where can they find you, Hortense?
You can find me on LinkedIn, and I have a website, hlgconsulting.org.
I'll share that. I'll put that in the show notes. And I wanted to ask, perhaps I'm going to give this final quote, and then I'm going to hand over to you to close today's show with your final message to our audience. And I just wanted to thank as well Hubert Joly, who introduced us and who actually exemplified many of the things you talk about in this book about alignment and being driven by purpose. So I wanted to thank him publicly as well for his great introduction to you and sharing your work as well. So merci, Hubert. My final quote, Hortense, is a quote that I love, and I haven't heard it quoted very often, and it's by the brilliant Albert Einstein. He said, "When you examine the lives of the most influential people who have ever walked among us, you discover one thread that winds through them all. They have been aligned first with their spiritual nature and only then with their physical selves." I love that quote. I think that quote is so profound and meaningful and aligned to your book, to the alignment of alignment that you hope that we all achieve. And I wanted to thank you immensely for your time today. And perhaps you'll close today's show with your final message to our audience. And before we do, actually, just want to remind our audience, I have a copy up for grabs of this brilliant book, Aligned: Connecting Your True Self with the Leader You're Meant to Be, by Hortense Le Gentil. Just sign up to the innovationshow.io newsletter and you'll be in the chance to win that book. Over to you, Hortense.
Thank you, Aidan, for giving me this chance to talk about alignment. I'm delighted to be there. And I would like to say to everyone, stay aligned. Don't be afraid to be yourself, because anyway, everybody else is already taken. I think Oscar Wilde said that, but this is so true. So being yourself, and work on this leadership, how you want to be remembered. I think it's a driver.
author of Aligned, Connecting Your True Self with the Leader You're Meant to Be, Hortense Le Gentil. Merci beaucoup.
Merci, Aidan.
And I just want to thank our sponsor, Zai. Zai is a global fintech that's innovating within its field of expertise, building integrated financial services for digital native and non-native businesses. You can check them out at hellozai.com.